Thank you. We have a few minutes for some questions, so we'll open it up to you guys.
Mr. Burchett makes a good point. There was some abuse.
Wait a minute, you're not getting anywhere by starting off with that.
Well, yeah, it wasn't subtle, was it? There was some abuse of proxy voting last Congress. Anecdotally, we heard about it too. There was some utility to it, though, also, not just for parents, but anybody with a parent they had to care for, a spouse they had to care for. Why was there such a rush to get rid of proxy voting in the Republican majority the day you took over?
That probably predates my time in office. As you know, I'm a freshman member, but what I will say is that this legislation is supposed to be specifically for members of Congress who give birth, so it's not addressing those other issues. That might be an issue for the next Congress to work out, but as of right now, we're trying to basically give mothers a voice and the right to vote after giving birth. So I don't think you can really abuse that system. As you know, it's pretty much hard to get anywhere after 8 months. So next question.
2 questions. So would you extend this to other medical conditions? Like right now we know Scalise is out undergoing treatment. Would you consider extending it for conditions like that? And also, why do you think it took so long to consider this legislation?
Well, to go to your first question, this right now specifically is just for members that give birth. So I think, again, that's going to be a topic of discussion for the next Congress. And as you know, we negotiate our own rules. And so maybe people can present cases and negotiate that. But as of right now, we did something incredibly important for some members that were hesitant about proxy voting, and that was removing the quorum. That goes in line with the Constitution. We don't want to go against that. And then to your second question, I think it took so long because, when you're in a system and you're the only one, and you're being told no, it's hard to swim upstream. And so I've been fortunate to have another member with me, another female member that is of reproductive years and is going to join me in this fight. And by the way, if we don't pass it this time, which I would hope that we do, but if we don't, we're not going to just let it go away. So we will be eventually passing this. We just don't know when. Any other questions?
One of the things about this that would seem it would help would be kind of the whole mother-child bond by giving 6 weeks for you, not back and forth to D.C. So it seemed to prioritize that. But now, actually yesterday, you had a whole back and forth in the hearing about family separation and children and people who arrive on the border with children. Do you feel any contradiction between that stance and this here prioritizing family bonding?
I can keep it just focused on the maternity vote by proxy, but what I can tell you is that I don't make any apologies for that statement. I know that some of my colleagues here are going to disagree with me, so please this is coming from me, but I would absolutely rather have my child confirm that that's my biological child if someone was claiming to be their parent, and I think it's dangerous to push that sentiment. I think it's hurting a lot of children. So, but again, let's keep it focused on this right here.
Congressional staff can get paid parental leave when they have children. Correct. Is it time to consider a parental leave policy for members of Congress and to write that into the rules?
I think, it's interesting. We can come up with resolutions, we can do media, but there's nothing in place for female members that give birth. So I think that we should consider coming up with something. I did not ever expect to be told that I couldn't represent my constituents. I think it was a slap in the face to all of them. And I think that it's time that we change that. So I look forward to working with the people behind me to set that precedence.
How's the baby sleeping?
I guess, Andy, how's you doing? He's doing good.
Have you had any conversations with leadership recently about this, and have they been receptive?
It's been interesting. I think I heard from from my party, Republican Party, we champion pro-life and pro-family values, but there's some hesitancy, I think, on supporting it. And then on the other side, you have, a pro-women platform, and there seems a little bit to be some hesitance there, but I think that that's where you guys all come in, is that bringing the topic of discussion to the forefront in the public discussion is incredibly important. And do you guys want to jump in on that?
I would just say that I remember in the state legislature, one of our chairmen said when they tried to pass something, he said, "I'm afraid you're going to open up Ponderosa's box." And nobody laughed because it's Pandora's box. But the guy was in charge of several $1 billion, so everybody was afraid to get something cut, so they didn't laugh. But, I'm not afraid of that. I think, but this is an exception. This is an exception to the rule. Pregnancy and women, mama should be with that baby. She should be able to continue her duty if we are about equality, which I feel like everybody on this stage is. So I feel like that the one exception should be pregnancy.
And just to wrap it up, remember, it's 0.1%. It's 12 members in entire U.S. history who've given birth in this House. That's incredibly small. We're not talking about a massive amount of numbers here. So if we truly want to represent the American people, I think we need to have more women here. We need to have more mothers, but more families as well. So thank you, guys.
There's hesitancy, though, on both sides. Do they explain why there's hesitancy? It seems like something that should be non-controversial. What did they tell you?
You would think, but I haven't really been fully able to track something down. I think people maybe felt that they were put into a box.
If you don't mind. I think Ms. Luna is taking some of the resistance that she's received from leadership in both parties at face value, but there may be a more sinister objective. Party leaders on both sides, this isn't a partisan criticism, sometimes want to have the members here to have their thumb over them. And they want the lobbyists to have more extensive interactions. They want the PACs and the fundraising community to turn members into really a system to kick cash up to leadership committees and to political committees. And if we've got people engaged in parenting a little bit more and the money laundering of Washington a little bit less, then leadership in both parties opposes that. So it may very well be just normal resistance to change. There may be no sinister motive, but I tend to think that that there's something about the power centers of this place that want people here. But all throughout the modern workforce now, we see talents diffusing, people living more in places of their choice and designing more of a workplace experience that leads to higher productivity and isn't one size fits all.
Any other questions?
I'll just add. Yeah. So, Anna and I really wanted to find an area where we could find bipartisan agreement that we thought had a possibility of getting through this House under its current makeup. I think, next Congress, we're going to continue working to try and expand. And I do think that, depending on the makeup of that, we may be able to find certain ways of formulating this that will get support.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.